What is going on, you guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I started tearing into the 135 to try and diagnose that misfiring issue I had from the drag strip. Got to get that fixed. And as I was pulling some stuff apart, I found something pretty interesting that I gotta share with you guys. So as you can see here, I've got my Precision Raceworks coils pulled off and the wires pulled out over there. And you can just see we've got open access to all the spark plugs. I took them out already, and I found this in the first cylinder. So I don't know if it's jumping out at you guys already, but let's talk about what I found on this plug. Now with all 6 plugs laid out here, you'll see that these 5 look pretty good. But we definitely have a problem with cylinder 1. You can see some crazy burning, lightning bolt looking marks on the porcelain part of the plug, which is bad news. So what's actually happening is instead of the spark reaching the tip of the plug here and igniting that part of the plug, it's arcing on this porcelain part and sending all the spark through the wrong part of the spark plug. And this is bad because it can cause a misfire. Obviously, when you're not igniting the right part of the plug, that's an issue. Now, I've heard of this happening before, so I actually used this dielectric grease, which is meant to prevent fusing and voltage leaks for spark plugs, which is exactly what happened here. So I used that on these 6 plugs, but maybe, I guess I forgot on this one, or maybe I didn't layer it on thick enough. I'm not sure, but these 5, you know, I can still feel the coating on there. So what you do is you basically just take a dab of this on your finger, make sure everything's clean, and thoroughly coat the porcelain part of the plug. You just want to make sure that you're not getting this tip of the plug, because that's where your spark plug wire is going to connect to, and obviously you want electricity to be, you know, transmitted through there. And this is going to prevent that leaking spark happening, spark jumping, spark arcing, whatever you want to call it. So I got to get another packet of this, and I've got a new set of plugs here. I'm going to apply that to all 6 of them, and the only thing I got to do to these first is gap them. And I've got some great gapping tools here from Burger Motorsports. Got a feeler gauge, their special gapper tool, and I'm going to go over how I gap my spark plugs, which plugs I recommend, which coils I recommend, because I get asked all the time from you guys, which plug should I run on my N54? What gap should I use? How do I gap them? What coils are you running? It's a common question and discussion in this platform, simply because once you start pushing power, misfires are bound to happen on an N54, and thankfully I've been misfire free up until this latest issue. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and make sure I coat these new ones properly. On my N54, I'm using these NGK 97506s, which is a 2-step colder than stock plug. These are the single prong instead of the Bosch factory 3 prongs that are not gappable. The single prong allows you to adjust the gap. And if you're using a stock coil, I would recommend going all the way to probably about 18 thousandths for a gap. And I've got this feeler gauge, which is just very finely machined pieces of metal showing exactly how thick the gap is. So I did a video on this already where I installed upgraded plugs and coils in my 335, and the process is exactly the same. So I'll link that in a card right above here. Click that, check it out, and it's going into deep detail on how to gap and insert spark plugs. I'll go over the basics here, but I'll tell you with upgraded coils, we can go all the way to about 22 thousandths, which allows for a bigger gap, which could potentially get us a little extra power, a little better power delivery out of the spark plugs. These are the 3 common tools I see people gap plugs with. This is just a cheap AutoZone feeler gauge that goes from very thick to very thin. Super inaccurate. Do not use these. This is kind of nice to use these prongs to bend the prong open if you've gapped it too tight. Otherwise, again, I wouldn't recommend using these. You definitely want to be using a feeler gauge with very fine, precise measurements. And I've also picked up this BMS gapper tool. Super convenient. Basically how it works is you just thread in your spark plug here. Just get a good engagement on the threads. And then what it happens is you twist the knob, and the knob will eventually make contact with the prong there. And the tighter you screw this knob, the nicer this gap will slowly decrease. So it's pushing the prong down much better than banging these on a table or however else you guys might be adjusting the prong on your spark plugs. This allows a nice, easy, precise way to do it. I've decided this time I want to gap mine to 20 thousandths of an inch. So I'm going to just tighten this and get it close, and then we'll check. I've just adjusted it a little bit. We'll put the 20th in there. Oh, and that's like perfect, first try. Yeah, that's real tight. So that's perfect. The process is the same. If you want to go a little bit bigger, you know, 22 thousandths, or a little smaller, 18 thousandths, the process is the same. You'll just adjust till it's good, back it out, and move on to the next one. Now with the plugs gapped, I'm going to go ahead and clean off the ceramic part. And again, we're just going to take some of this, just put a dab on there, just like so. And we're going to spread it in. And make sure your finger's clean for this. Obviously you don't want anything going on to the ceramic part of the plug that could cause any arcing as well, grease or metal shavings or whatever. So now that's nice and coated. We'll do this for all 5 others and drop them back in the car. And if you're careful, you can actually put a little bit on a Q-tip or something like that and swab it on the inside of your wire, just a light coat. And make sure you're not getting this on the metal part of the wire down in there, you know, the metal part that clips on to the tip of the spark plug here. You do not want to get this grease on this metal part or the metal part within the spark plug wire. And to finish off, we've got the fresh spark plug with the dielectric grease, a Berger Motorsports spark plug socket. It's magnetic, so we're just going to drop it in there, lower it down into the cylinder, and we'll get all 6 hand tight and then finish them off with a nice torque. I torque all plugs down to 17 foot-pounds, but if you don't have a small torque wrench, just hand tight is going to be more than good. For those of you who have these newer PR coils, these are nice and easy. If you have the old style, you really got to push down on the middle here to get them to click in, but just listen for an audible click and you'll know when it's in. Oh my god, I just got surprised by some rain here, but I made it out just in time. I got the rest of the plugs in, I got the coils hooked up, and I quickly pulled the car into the garage. She's a little wet. But the last thing you got to do is put the duty cover back on and put the left side cowl back on, and we should be ready to rock. And that being said, I want to take the car back to the drag strip. If you watched the previous video, you know I just ran a low 10 with it, and I'm shooting for 9s, especially now that I got the misfire fixed. Knock on wood. But please, if you've had issues with misfires, or maybe you've had similar tracing issues on your plugs, drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing, because you're not going to want to miss any more drag racing. And I'll be honest, I have a ton of content coming for all the cars. So please, let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.